Hi everyone and welcome to a new video out on Instagram about a possible video about working with brands and kind of literally A to Z of it and what it entails and what it looks like basically. Lots of people were quite interested, so here we go. I've got my cup of tea, I've got my phone with lots of questions on, and hopefully I don't ramble too much. I probably will. So I'm going to kind of go through A, B, C, D, how I feel like a timeline of working with a brand goes. I will hopefully answer most of the questions within that already, but if I feel like I really haven't, then I will just do a little Q&A at the end from the questions that I've been asked, but I'll see how it goes and what I cover. There was a lot of things about contacting brands, how they contact you, the kind of setup, the situation, and obviously that's where we start first with the contact of the company and the brand. There are so many ways to work with brands, obviously depending on kind of your community and your niche. And I'm sure lots of people do it not in this way, so if you're doing it, well done you, and I'm sure you're doing really good, but maybe a lot of people aren't and they really just want to, like, it's a bit daunting, so you just want to make sure that you're doing it right or that you know what's going to happen. So hopefully for these people it can be of interest. For me, I feel like there's definitely kind of two, well, they probably go off in a spiral, but kind of two different ways of working with a brand, or not ways, but kind of what they expect from you. So there would be the brands that have a campaign, that have an idea, that want to push that idea and actually get 1, 2, 3, 4 X amount of people involved in it. They have a budget and they are sourcing content creators usually for that brand. They're usually, I would say 90% of the time, kind of a PR for that brand. Are you going to join me? These I would expect to have a budget. Usually they are bigger companies, or they are companies that aren't particularly independent. So they have a budget behind them, which is great for content creators. To actually be paid for their work is amazing. And there are the free item collaborations, which come in all sorts of different forms, but you would maybe more likely to see them in a smaller startup where they don't have budget, or for example, things like my travel. When I was collaborating with Go Booney, I got the camper van because it was high value, and now Lily's going to join. The fact that I've just started with Sofology, or that I started last year with Sofology, I have got credit for the store for that, so that is a big value cost, and I personally wouldn't expect a budget. They may still have budget, but that's something that you can decide. However, I wouldn't expect it. Things like my Emma mattress and stuff like that, I didn't get a budget with it. However, I got a high value project which I need. Happy to put the time in exchange for that. I think we really come into shallow water with the smaller companies that have low value things, and then they work with their kind of reps and working with content creators in their own way, but I just always think it needs to benefit you. Free collar and lead at this point for me, it doesn't benefit me personally, because if I want that, I buy it. So there's very few things of a smaller value, and I don't want to come across like really, don't know if I sound like a complete knob, And that's completely up to you. That's kind of where you set you guide yourself in what you would like. But I think we do need to think about our time. We need to think about our time and our worth, how much that costs. Time in general, for a photo shoot, to do a whole campaign, to do a blog post, to like have them preview like content and things. It's such a long time. And then on top of that, I have my camera equipment, I have my editing software that I pay for, I have insurance for my camera that I pay for. It's just all these things that we need to take into the bigger picture. See, I told you I totally spiral, because that's not really about contact, is it? But I just wanted to kind of give that bit of overview, I think. So with contact, I do find it's totally okay to contact the brand that you would like to work with. I think that's absolutely fine. I think there's a lot of like negativity, or there used to be, around it, but I think this Instagram generally is so overpopulated. The dog community is so overpopulated. People might just not see you, might not find you, and maybe that's work that you need to do, but that happens. Lots of people don't know who each of us are. So actually reaching out can totally be done in the right way. But then also, yes, you do get brands that contact you, that have a campaign or have an idea, or just want you to promote something. If you're contacting them, a few things I suggest. Don't just drop into their DMs and be like, do you want to work together? Do you want any like social media content? And you've got generally a small amount of followers, and you've never had the brand or bought the brand before. Like, it's just not the way to do it. I personally, on the account that I manage, I just delete them. I don't even, because it's too, there's so many of them, I can't keep up. However, there are ways to go about contacting a brand. Yes, you can like message them if you need a contact email, or ask them the best way to contact. They might say it was Instagram, but you need to put that out there. So if it's through Instagram, I just say, hi, I'm X, Y and Z, I like doing this, I like doing that, really love your brand, and I'm wondering who the best person to talk to is in terms of content creation and collaboration. So they will then come back with an email address. Or if you know the email address, or if you're just going to send it to a hello@info@ whatever, be careful with bigger brands, because they have no idea. Like, some don't even know what content creators are, some don't know where to guide you. So if that was the case, I always be like, please do like send this to the right person. But in the email, I just talk about myself, ourselves as a dog family, what we do, what we like to do, and then really big up yourself. So I'm talking about, I have an award-winning blog, I am a photographer, so the images you're going to get are amazing. I have worked with X brand. Maybe you don't want too similar, because they'll be like competitive, but kind of brands that you can definitely talk about. Just things like that, say about your following, etc, etc. Be personal, and let them know also why you like their brand, what you'd like to do for them, what you'd suggest in collaborating, how you've worked with other people, or if you're completely open, that you are completely open, but if you'd like me to put some suggestions to you, then I'm really keen to do that. And then I would also send a media kit. These are super easy. You can download them for like a tenner off Etsy, and you can like change them about and personalise them. Or you can, if you're quite a whiz, which I'm not. You can obviously do one yourself, just Google it and there you'll be able to see some examples. So I've personally got two. I've got a product one and a travel one. So obviously with travel, it kind of opens up a whole new community, whereas with products, I guess it does as well, because sofas aren't necessarily dog stuff, but it's still kind of, yeah, that's how I think about it anyway. Like travel, you're hitting a whole new land because there's so many travel Instagram bloggers out there. So just adding that dog-friendly element to it is really important. So that's why I've kind of separated them, but they're basically the same. They just have slightly different things in. And your media kit, you basically will have a bit about you, so it will be a bit repetitive, but be a bit about you, a bit about your channels, what you focus on, what you like, why you like doing it, and things like that. And then you're going to have your stats, so your followers, your engagement, etc, etc, your reach. If you've got a blog, your reach on that and stuff like that, your readership, who your audience is. So it's stuff like that. So you want to make sure that you then attach that to the email, and then you can send that. I would say, I don't think I have ever, nor would I expect, but I'm sure it does happen for especially bigger bloggers, obviously, or content creators, to have a payment if I'm reaching out to them. Like I say, I'm sure it does happen. If you are a lot larger than I am, or larger than I am, and you have an amazing creative idea, and you reach out, then maybe there would be some budget behind that. But I just personally, I'm not in that zone yet, and I don't feel like I want to be or need to be at the moment, because the reason why I usually reach out to people for things I need and I feel like then they would make good content. So it's benefiting me if we can collab in any way. So getting that item would be beneficial, and therefore I don't need, expect, want the payment, because it is in the value of the thing that I've got. Does that make sense? However, payment, if they have a big campaign, if they want to promote it, if they have all these ideas, then I would expect payment. I don't work for free anymore, unless, like I say, it's things that I want, that I need. Yeah. So this kind of also comes down to like what you take and what you don't. And I think a lot of people actually work it a little bit different to me, which is absolutely fine, but I'm going to tell you my kind of thought process. If I want something, big or small, even if I want a harness, a particular harness, and that brand comes to me and says, we really want to work with you, we've got this harness, we haven't got a budget, but would you like to do something? Then it's very likely that I will. If that harness is on my list, and when I say harness, for example, I'm still very specific. I'm not a person that has loads of harnesses or loads of coats or loads of whatever for the dogs. I'm quite specific in what I like, and I think dog stuff can become quite like fast fashion almost. You can get really cheap stuff, but for me it's about being practical and making sure that the dogs have good practical things. Yes, I want them to look nice too, but that's where I am. I think dog stuff can be really quite fast fashion, and I don't think it's great. See, I've lost it. So I would likely say, yep, I really want that harness, I really want that coat, I've been looking at that, I've been trying to save up for it. So I'm definitely going to work with you. Let's work on something that I'm happy to create for a free of charge item, and we both get something we want. For these collaborations, I wouldn't expect myself to do a lot of content, to show a lot. It would be a few things. Obviously, if it is really a promotional situation, then you want to help them. But I wouldn't be doing blog posts and reels and loads of stories and having to do a grid post at a certain time and have to have it reviewed and X, Y, Z. It would just be more of a casual thing. You've got this, please post a photo. When I take free of charge items, usually. And then people obviously say like they only work with people that they like or they know, and I think that is amazing and I think that's great. However, when I say this, I'm not expecting you to go and work with any fucking company, but I think just be open to finding different companies, and that a new company will come by. You might not know them. However, that doesn't mean that you can't kind of collaborate and work on something together. For example, Fur Boost, which is my most recent post at the moment. I don't know when this video is going up, but my most recent collaboration. I didn't know them. They are brand new. They're like just before Christmas, brand new. And I love this stuff. I think it's so good for our licky mats and finding it really easy. We're doing a lot of training with the dogs at the moment. So for me, at this time, it's great. And I did take payment. It was a sponsored ad. And number one, I probably wouldn't have worked with them if it was free of charge item, because it's too low value for me and I have to do too much work. End of, basically. And I just probably wouldn't have tried it. I probably wouldn't have been that bothered to try it. But I was given the time, I was sent lots, I was given the time to try it, to use it, really liked it, and then went ahead with it. So it's never a case of getting something and not liking it and still having to post. I definitely wouldn't do that, and I definitely don't take on anything if it's paid. I still need it to be something I want to showcase. But there are still things that come about and are new to me, but I still take on. Okay, I'm going to cover a few things about contact within the questions I got, which were really good. So someone asked about scam, kind of DM us to collaborate. I think if you think it's a scam, then it probably is. If it's not messaged, definitely not. So if it's within your comments, for example, it probably is. Have a look at the Instagram account, Google it, see, but really it's very likely to be a bit shitty. If they message you and say that, then I would always, I like to go via email anyway, because then I can keep eye on a thread. I know what I'm expected to do, I know what I'm getting, I know timescales, so having it on email is way easier for me personally than on Instagram messages. So if they did ask, then I would just be like, would you like to email me over at blah blah blah, and we can talk about this properly. If you think it is a little bit dodgy, then maybe just probe them a little bit and ask them who they've worked with, ask to see content from people, get links from them. But I think really, if you're thinking that, it's very likely that they are. And any of those DM to collab, delete them straight away off your comments. They look shite, they're bad, they're spammy, and yeah. So I haven't had any dodgy people. I think I've known them or seen them, or they've got a proper website and they've got a proper Instagram account, or I know of them anyway. Or they're giving me all this information and they're being really professional. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot more to say on like scam ones. Don't be scammed. If you're thinking it, it's probably true. There's a good one that says that asked about how you say no, and I say no a lot, especially to smaller companies, and not because they're smaller companies. Like I want to promote to independent companies, I really do, but I still need to do that in the right way for me. So that's when I usually find they message through Messenger, direct message a lot, and I just say at this time I can't work for free of charge items, I can't work with what you're offering, I just don't have time to take that work on at the moment. It's just things like that. You can then go over and have a look at their page, and I guess you've done that already, but like have a look and make sure that it's not something you're interested in. But I think saying no is absolutely fine. That shows you have put a set on your worth and your knowledge and your creativity and your talent, which I think is 100% fine. Another one about contact, I guess, is in terms of money, of knowing what you set and respect and average prices and all things like that. I'm not going to give you prices for me personally. All I'm going to say is that I don't have a set price. I have a general price that I stick to, but the reason I don't have a set price is because, for example, if it is an independent company and I really like them, they have a smaller budget, maybe I will come down to that, and I don't want to cut myself off. But also, if there is like a really big company, I know they can afford it, and like I'm talking big companies, I know they can afford it. I'm just like, well, if you want me to do this for you, then you will pay me X. Otherwise, I might lose that collab. But for me, I'm weighing up options of what is better for me. Always, I would definitely have a particular, like, not a set price, but at least a general price in mind. You know what you'd work for. You know how long it takes you to take a photo or 2 or 3 stories, to edit them, to upload them, to showcase them, to add all the links and things like that. And then if you're on the big kind of campaign side of things, it's very likely you will have a contract. It's very likely that you will have to have your content reviewed before it goes live, have certain things that need to go in hashtags or captions. So that's even more work for you before you've even kind of begun to put any content there. So again, it's just thinking about how long is this going to take? What is my time worth? Is my time better spent cuddling my dogs on the sofa or going for a lovely walk? And also what you need, what you want and what you need is such a big thing, especially with this year or last year with 2020. A lot of people are hard off for money. What do you need? Is this a bit more of a part-time job for you now? Do you need to make X, Y, and Z? This isn't for me. The paid collabs I get are pocket money, if you like. However, they are still going into my life. I very much do need things, but I have a full-time job and I have my photography job, so I take these on, especially the bigger ones, more as a photography job. I see it like that, so I don't do things for nothing for that reason too. Like, I think, well, if this was a wedding, even an intimate wedding, so a 4-hour wedding, how much would I be getting paid for that? So I know they're different, and I know you have to kind of weigh things up, but I think you need to kind of get into the mindset of your time is very worthy. And if people don't have that budget, don't want to pay you for that, then that's fine. I think don't get Like, it's okay. People will say no if you contact them, and people will maybe decide that they don't want you. If it was like a first outreach thing, maybe they change their mind or they've got X person instead, and that happens, and that's fine. So it's just brush yourself off and move on, and maybe another brand will come up that will be amazing for you. I asked about, do I buy something from the brand before I contact them? No, but again, it depends what it is and who I'm contacting. I think if you can see that a certain brand is working with lots of content creators, then it's very likely that they're going to be opened up to kind of wanting more content creators, and therefore if you kind of message them, then they'd be keen for you in some way if you work with them, if it works for them, if it works for you, etc. So I think that's a good way of doing it. However, if it's a brand that I don't own, then I do try and do my research, and I will showcase that in the email, and I will also go and properly look at their website and look at their Instagram, follow them, kind of comment and engage with them. I think is really important, because it actually shows that you're not in it for a freebie. Which this will take me to the freebie section. I just think we need to stop calling things free. I know a lot of people come onto Instagram, again, all over, not just our community, all over, to get free stuff. And although I still call it free stuff or free of charge items when I'm being professional, but we need to kind of step back from that. I have been on Instagram for a very long time. I've been slow burning followers, and it's taken me a long time. I've got my blog behind me, which is very interesting for brands I work with. So it's taken me a long time to get to this. I think if you are jumping on and you have a small amount of followers and you just expect stuff, then just don't, okay? It will happen. I'm sure it will happen. A lot of people like kind of microbloggers now. If you are new and you've kind of got into a pace, then that's really beneficial for them, because usually if you are building up steam, you are doing well, and your engagement might be better than someone with 30,000 followers. But that's everything, that's your stats a lot, that's yes your followers, but your engagement, who you're engaging with, your reach, all sorts of everything that companies look into when they are researching who to work with. And like I say, we are oversaturated, so it just might not be that you are up for this freebie at that point, but can we stop calling it a freebie? So much work, effort, skill, talent, money goes into what I do on Instagram, so it's not free. I have still had to put in X amount of time, X amount of creativity, ideas, all this, so it's never for the freebie for me. It's all about showcasing an Instagram account that I'm proud of, that I want to showcase, that I find creative, and I'm pushing that, and I want it to go far. I want it to be a success, but my success is different to your success and success of next door. So rambling again. Whilst we're on the money thing, and kind of in terms of not setting mine in stone, I think that comes with I'm happy to negotiate in some way. And again, you'll have your set things that you're happy to negotiate with and not negotiate with. I would always suggest, if they don't, if you've given them a price and they don't have that price, they're saying £50 less, £100 less, whatever it might be, then just, okay, do I want to take this, number one, and then that's honestly up to you. If you do, you then offer them to do less. £100, for example, you were going to do an Instagram post and 3 stories. You would say, okay, well, I can only do 1 story now. Or, okay, I'm just happy to do the Instagram post then. Or, yeah, that's fine, but you won't have use of my photos. Whatever it may be, you decide. But I think that's the best way to negotiate. Negotiating is totally fine, it's totally up to you what you want from it. And that's why I think having this kind of set idea of your worth and your time really comes back to things like that. So, yep. If you want to negotiate, then do. If you particularly need this money at the time, which again, going back to fucking COVID, it might be likely, okay, so what can you do instead? Will you take a lower amount? What are you going to do less? Or are you not? Are you just willing to take that money? Everything is fine, everything is personal, but these are the things that might happen and might come up. One more thing, I guess, to do with pricing is how maybe you haven't charged people before and you're interested in doing so. When do you start that? When do you feel comfortable with it? Why do you do it, etc. I think it goes back to kind of everything I've said in terms of your time and who's contacting who. If it's a continued collaboration, for you to just then be like, oh, by the way, I am charging now, might be a little bit odd. So maybe if someone reaches out to you and you've not kind of been in contact with them before, it's a great way to send your media kit, send your price list, be like, this is what I'm offering. It's also really good if you're a bit worried about that side of things and you are a photographer, for example, which I know many accounts aren't, but if you are, to be like, okay, I will do this, but for exchange of my photos, I expect this. So again, it's just kind of negotiating and turning it around and just doing it in a time and a space where you feel comfortable and you're happy to and you're confident to. So things that I think you shouldn't do or you should do, just tips. We're just going to do a bit of a quick tip session. I personally wouldn't put in your bio, DM to collab. I find the majority of these people doing that maybe don't have collaborations a lot, or of course you're gonna message someone or email someone to collab. So I just think it's not needed, and I think it makes it look very much for that freebie pulling want. Again, little freebie monster. So I just personally wouldn't do that, and I would always be professional. Even if it is a quick direct message to ask about an email, be professional. Your emails need to be professional. They need to showcase why that brand wants to work with you. And if it is a free of charge item or if it's paid, you are going into a work professional collaboration with them. Sometimes it's contracted. This is professional. You have stepped away from however much I just said it's a hobby for me. It's not. You are now a professional in this. If you are getting paid for something you do, you are a professional. So you need to act like a professional. And obviously that doesn't mean we're zombies and we don't show our personality. We can definitely do that. But it's still, you're not just getting a freebie from them. They want something from you. You need to have that for them, and you need to showcase that you will supply it, that you will make good content. Okay, so I think I've totally spoken about that enough. Let's think about, you are contracted or you have come to an agreement with the brand, what are you now expecting or needing or wanting. Usually, if it's a big campaign or not, I always like to have a brief, so I like them to send a brief to me. This will kind of easily lay out hashtags you need to use, their tag, maybe what they're expecting. If they need for you to do something, for example, have a particular product in there, then that would all be laid out. Maybe if there's any time scales, that would be in there. And things like this. To get a brief is really, really important. To have a contract is totally normal, and if they do ask you to have a contract, make sure you read through it properly. Ask someone to help you, because it is a whole lot of mumbo jumbo. Things you need to look for, to like making sure that they don't say you can't work with different brands, or if they don't let you, how long that timescale is and who those brands actually are. Really important, I think. And just making sure, or you know, when you're going to receive your money or what you're expected to pay for. If you're expected to actually buy the product from the money you'll be receiving, or if the money's being sent through. Things like that will definitely be covered in a contract, and it is normal. You're not being claused into anything that isn't normal. Like that is an okay thing to do, and you will find a lot of the bigger companies or companies that have PRs behind them will have a contract. It's a good job I checked it, because everything I just said in the last bit stopped recording. Cheers. So I think the last thing I just wanted to mention was, when you are ready to go with that content, make sure that it's the caption and everything is the same, the photo is the same as if you had it reviewed. So make sure you do everything properly of what they've reviewed. And also, also just because Instagram doesn't like people editing their post, so if you can make sure that you've put everything in that needs to be in, that you want in, etc., that's really important, so you don't get penalised by Instagram. And then make sure you disclose properly. We can talk about this for ages, I'm sure, but because of the ASA and the CAP or CAP, I don't know how they say their name, we need to make sure we're disclosing properly, because we have collaborated in any way. This is for anything, even if it's a PR project, if it's a gift. If you have made contact and you are getting X and you are giving Y, then it's a collaboration and it needs to be classed as one, as an ad. If I get paid for something, it's always just ad. It needs to be clear, fairly close to the top, not within hashtags or right at the bottom of the caption. And I do use the paid promotion tag thing on Instagram. However, you can't just use that. That doesn't cover you for anything. It's just something that Instagram started doing. Please don't use it if you don't get paid from these people. This isn't a free product thing, it's literally a payment thing. And if it is a PR project, that's what I do, add PR project. I personally don't use gift, because I think it just kind of downgrades, kind of goes back into that freebie kind of sense again, and I'm just all for being as professional as possible. In some terms, I know I swear a lot, that's not very professional, is it? But you know what I mean. So I use PR project because it's not a freebie, it's not a gift. They want something in return. That's not a gift. Yeah, so I've just blabbered. I think I just did that last bit really quickly because I wanted it done. So bye, thank you so much. If you've got any questions, then do leave them in the comments. That would be great, and I can try and answer them, try and help if I can. But yeah, I appreciate this was a long one, so thank you so much, and goodbye.